What's up, guys? It's Richie Rich back yet again, and this time I'm bringing you a review of the 1995 classic feature film Devil in a Blue Dress. Be sure to check this out. So, Devil in a Blue Dress, one of the awesome 90s films starring, I've said it once, I said it before, you, you know, because I may even do this later on. I may give my top actors, maybe top five. Chris Rock already did his top five, so it's time for Richie Rich to do his top five. I may do my top five, actors list of all time. Denzel's definitely one of the up there. Big fan of Johnny Depp, Jack Nicholson, and Will Smith. So I have a lot of number one go to, but definitely when you're talking about what embodies like a leading man actor, Denzel Washington is on the top of the list, man. And it was great. Obviously during the 90s, I think the 90s for Denzel was definitely the biggest boom, because around that time he came off, superb hits like, Malcolm X, the very underrated and classic like Ricochet, Mo Better Blues, Crimson Tide, obviously this Devil in a Blue Dress, and another great one, another collaboration with Spike Lee, He Got Game, and it's just like, man, Denzel, you can see just the I will talk about this later, but there's just a nice distinct quality that Denzel has that I just think it just puts him on just another league, like you gotta remember at this time he was the only one who could be level with like the Tom Cruises, the George Clooney and Brad Pitt. It was only this man, everyone else was like below, but Denzel was the alpha, during the 90s time. Speaking of like leading man, I love the covers that they always put like Denzel, like to know that okay, this is the Devil with a Blue Dress and it's featuring the the movie star Denzel Washington, and there was cool covers like the Out of Time film with Eva Mendes and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Sana Lafan, the hot girl who was Blade's mother. Also the Malcolm X when he's like that with any means necessary. The Ricochet cover. So I really love that thing. And what's really really sweet about this cover is it goes into kind of what the film genre is about. It's that kind of like it's a period piece first of all in that kind of late 1930s, early 1940s. Of that kind of blend of where jazz was the top funk. Then what I mean. So it has a lot of that kind of. You can see kind of like the color. It represents of like kind of like jazz, kind of like rhythmic feel. That was like dominant at that time. So like Denzel's, obviously the main leading man in this, and the supporting cast. I'll start off with the very beautiful Jennifer Beals. She because I'll touch on the story a bit. What it is Denzel has come back from the war in World War II. They said you served the country well. It's time for you to go back, to your normal life, and you gotta remember during the late 1930s and 1940s, for like I'm not just saying black, anyone who was not a Caucasian, you were always put bottom of the pile. So Denzel has a house, he has a mortgage and he has a car. So he comes back from the war and, he's got no bar, he's got nada, So like he's just kind of like obviously desperate because he doesn't want to lose his house and mortgage, So he even goes into these, what was it? One place, I think he was working at a factory at the start, I think they lay him off or, they just say he hasn't got any more work anymore. And what I mean, he's forced to basically, go out of his way to get, money. And I think one time he's at the bar with his friend, and just some anonymous guy. He's played by Sizemore. Yeah, this really really he's super actor. I think he's in the Sopranos. I may have to double check on that, but he's always plays the villain well. This is kind of like Zed in Pulp Fiction. You'll see him in other films of always playing this menacing, bad guy. So like, he meets Denzel, who's like, down on his luck, and he's like, kind of like, where does he go from here? Just out of nowhere, Tommy Sizemore's character, he comes in and just says like, yeah, but I got a job for you. He says like, because they got that accent like where they are, because I think it's in this is Los Angeles, LA, Hollywood, so like he has that kind of accent, but even when the first moment Tommy comes in, he just looks shady, and Denzel's kind of like, I don't know, man, I don't know if this is a good fit for me. But again, that situation of, it's so nice to come back to your house after a long day, and when you have not gone on, when you don't have that, stress just builds up. And trust me, from a guy who's been in that situation before, I'm dropping real jewels. But like, it's like Denzel's kind of forced to basically take his offer, and Tommy basically says like, Tommy Sizemore's character, he basically says that he's got a job for him. He needs him to locate this white girl, i.e. the devil in a blue dress. What happens is one of like the top politicians, I think he's even the mayor or something, the wife bailed on him, or not the wife, but she was pre-engaged, so she was gonna marry him in the distant future. So she just bailed. She just left for whatever reason. And because they are under the assumption that she's hiding around in like let's just say like the black areas, she's hanging around in jazz clubs, she's hanging around with the brothers and the sisters. So like straight up, he just says like, it's a weird thing, because like it's like Denzel is like, it's damned if you don't and damned if you do, because he just basically says like, look, he just gives him the money and say, look, that's $100. Use what methods you gotta do to locate this girl. But I also feel if he didn't take it, Tommy Sizemore's character would have been vexed anyway. You know what I mean? Because what happens later during the story is he ends up breaking into Denzel's house. Even though he was trying to look for this girl. So it's like, sometimes getting in these situations. I will discuss more about this later. But sometimes like sometimes taking, out of the cookie jar, man. Sometimes regardless of your situation, man, sometimes you just gotta like take a moment to think. Not always, and this is coming from, the one that says he's the rich man. From my own experience, you guys just be careful of taking like, handouts, easy money, man. You can see, from this kind of scene, Denzel was like, I don't know. Yeah, so Denzel, who's I forgot to mention, he's played an easy role, is easy. He begins his search, because obviously he doesn't have a job. He starts going to these like, hidden jazz clubs, where when black people gather to really get down, what I mean? And a lot of like them, the instruments they use, the trumpets, the saxophone. And they were using that. They had this kind of like hidden jazz club which was beneath like a grocery store. So Denzel actually pops in there one night, and he's just on the search. He keeps asking, man, have they seen this girl? Her name is called Daphne Monet, but I think he was calling her a different name because he didn't know complete information and that. Yeah, he ends up bumping into one of the other she's not in it for like an extensive amount of time, but Lisa Nicole Carson, who also appeared in the one I reviewed before, Jason's Lyric. Denzel bumps into her, and she's with her man, and when Easy is with them, Easy was with them, they sit at the table, they just basically enjoy the whole night, and because like I said, Denzel had money for once, so he could like chill out for once. So what happens is Denzel's here, and Lisa Nicole's Carson's character is there, even though she's with her man, the whole time her all eyes focused on Easy. Denzel's playing, she wanted some Washington time, man. I'm not talking about the Washington Post. She wanted some Denzel Washington time, what I mean? And And what happens is, because like Nettie, it gets to the near the end of the night, Denzel's like, he's not gonna find anything here. He's about to leave. Lisa Nicole Carson like puts her hand over Denzel, puts her hand on Denzel, kind of locks it in, and say like, you'd be sorry if you go home. And he's like, he's like, no, I'll be sorry if I didn't, because he already kind of knew where this was going, so he's about to jet, and she was like, you ain't gonna get any. She says like, you ain't gonna get any with Daphne, the devil in the blue jet, the white girl. So it implied that she knew who she was, so because like Lisa Nicole Carson's like I don't know, I think it's a husband or like a man, he was drunk, man, he was smashed. Denzel offers, to drive them back home, back to their place, which was big I don't know to say, but it's like, he had a lead. Drives her back to the place. The moment like he lays the boyfriend down, Lisa Nicole Carson just starts seducing him, and just like a little side note, just to kind of lay with me, in a similar situation, this happened to me. Like it was weird, because I watched this like a couple of days just before, obviously I decided to review it. And I was just remembering, if you see the way the eyes, how, she gazes at Denzel, and like her demeanor, and how she like handles him, it's like, she was so seductive, and it's sometimes very difficult, and this is where I think some guys had to take credit, Denzel was gonna leave, what I mean? He kind of knew where he was gonna lead onto, and he didn't want to do that because that was his friend. But it's sometimes when you get in that era, sometimes when you get like seduced, and like I said, this happened to me with the village girl, you get in situations where you're a heterosexual guy, you're in front of a beautiful woman, and you're within their vicinity, you're not doing nothing, but they came to you. It's very difficult sometimes to go hard back because your mind's only on one thing, it's thinking below. You know what I mean? Because it was really crazy because I was kind of seeing just these kind of weird like flashbacks. I was like, this SHIT happened to me, because Denzel is like, nah, I'm cool, and she like over, forced it. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be sorry if you went. You know what I mean? Like, these kind of things. And it's like, you always feel like, oh man, I'd be full. Because I keep saying, for most dudes. Coming out of the film, for most dudes, when like girls offer it to you, it's sometimes like 1 in a million. So, and for me, I would never ever, if someone is in a commitment, I would never ever do that. That's something that's completely against my character. But that's speaking for me. I know other people have been in situations. I know other people have been in many, many situations where the guy is just innocently saying, look, I'm going to bail, and the girl will literally push it over to them, and, one thing leads to another, what I mean? Which basically happens in this film, Yeah, because Easy, Denzel playing, he was just obviously there. He said, like, he just wants to know more information, what I mean? He didn't plan staying the whole night, literally the guy Lisa the Carson was in was literally in the next room sleeping. He was done, and like as Denzel and Lisa get on, basically he leaves the next morning, and what's crazy enough is later on during that day, so next morning when he goes back to his place, he gets ambushed by some like homicide detectives, basically tell him that like Lisa Nicole Carson was taken out, she was murdered and everything, obviously because at this time the atmosphere was so like this is obviously before like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were fighting for civil rights, so this was pre I've got a fountain for a white person and I've got a fountain for a black person, oh, we could put a sign saying only whites only. So at this time, anything that could just be, they could put now, and I know this did happen, where detectives, police, it just shows how corrupt it was in America. They could just pin something on a black guy and they're doomed, regardless of what they say. I'm innocent, it didn't mean nothing, and even when they put, Denzel is with 2 like white police detectives, and they're basically like, you're going down, boy. You're going down, boy. Denzel's like, fearful because yeah, man, he end up, not doing anything, So like, I remember like, obviously he gets escorted out of the custody suite where the police kept him. That's actually a cool image if you can kind of see that. That's when the police were going Mississippi burning on him. You know what I mean? So like, he's able to like fortunately get out of the station. And he continues his pursuit. For Daphne played by Jennifer Beals. And as the story continues on, you can see Denzel's way more wary. Even he gets picked up by one man in a he gets picked up late night, I think. Same time when he's walking home back from the police station. He gets picked up by the actor. His name's Maury Culkin. I think again he's working with the guy who's looking for Jennifer Beals. These all like top politicians. Like the people kind of at the top of like LA at that time. So Denzel's walking home, and he's neglects. He says, "No, I don't need a home." You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to trust like a white guy in a cool suit anymore. So he goes in. He does, eventually go in, and he speaks to this guy, and yeah, it's like a top priority that like they find this woman. You know what I mean? And it was always curious when I first watched it. I was like, why did they want to find her so badly? You know what I mean? And later on during the story, you can understand why. And it's like as Denzel leaves, Macaulay, he was gonna give him money, to obviously help him continue his search, and he's like, no, he learned his lesson from the other time. He said, nah, I'm cool, man. Then he just goes off on his way. So like, when Easy does eventually get back home, he goes to sleep, and he has a dream about I finally found her name, who Lisa Nicole Carson was playing. It was Coretta. He has a dream, of like, that time they spent night together, or they spent the night, and she was gone. And he wakes up and he gets an anonymous phone call, and it's the girl in the blue dress, Daphne, and she says like, where she's located, and without too much hesitation, then she'll drives to find her, and he finds Jennifer Beals, the character, the one that everyone's searching for, the big reveal. He finds her, and similar like the Korea thing, she was there and Denzel was there. I guess Denzel gets all the honeys, she was there, and the way she was eyeing him up again, she was trying to seduce him. Denzel was saying like he wanted to like, because he's been in a lot of like blah blah situations. Now he just wanted to check if she wasn't carrying, what I mean. You honestly, you gotta be, sure. So he says like, is it okay like if you, I just want to check if everything's going nice. She says, oh, you can pat me down, and I'm like, why? I mean, and before that, so he's like, what, I'm not gonna get in trouble again. Let me just get another drink. And he just keeps questioning her, saying like, what's the deal? She says like she wants him to drive him to basically like across Hollywood, to go meet like one of her homies, and it's sad, once they get there, the whole place where that guy, his name's, I think he's Richard something, not this Richard, but like Richard McGee something, but like he's ends up, when they actually get to the apartment, the place has been sabotaged, and they find Daphne's friend, another crazy murder, similar to like the Correa one. It was just the person they were looking for was gone. So like, as I was mentioning, like after this like horrific scene, Denzel goes back to his apartment, and this is when it's the SHIT goes down. He comes back, and Tommy Sizemore's character, he was waiting for him with goons, and they already broken into his apartment. And Denzel was just like, what is going on, man? Like, I mean, all I wanted was a job, and all these like crazy stuff. I've got 2 murders already, and now these goons want to like, break my arms and legs, and basically like, Tommy Sizemore, he has like a piece, and he's about a knife, like he basically like puts it to Denzel's face, and basically says like, cough up, like, where's the girl? And because like now, these 2 murders are like, basically they're gonna pin it on Easy's Easy, Denzel's kind of like our options because he's got to like now try get this case off him, and obviously not worried about like what Tommy says Sizemore's character is gonna do to Denzel. So our options, he enlists like he calls like one of his friends, who's played by Don Cheadle, who plays Mouse. There's flashbacks of like where even earlier in the film, there's flashbacks of when like Denzel and Don Cheadle were like I think they were working together, and I think some mishap happened where like again someone got slain, and again he was trying to think like this is not the first time Denzel's kind of seen someone who's been like destroyed, like murdered, and like he's going away with, even though he knows that, and like I said, it's like it's all this familiar stuff's happening again, and Don Cheadle, who's a magnificent actor, man. His temperament and Denzel is complete. They're like the yin and the yang, the way they work on this. Don Cheadle is just very like straight to the point. He's like he wants to. He sees because later on he basically is told that because Denzel literally goes to he finds the guy later on that let me see if I can find. Later on, Denzel finds Todd, who put the in instructions obviously to get Jennifer Beals because they were the ones who are gonna get married and live in harmony. He ends up going to him, and Denzel actually is able to negotiate a price, for obviously his well-being and how much it would cost, to get Daphne, and it comes up to 7,000. So once like Mouse, played by Don Cheadle, knows about this, it becomes like an even more priority to get find this goal because keep in mind 7,000 at this time was a heck of a lot of money. $7,000 in Hollywood, fool. A lot of stuff could go down if you got that money to equate that, put that money and put with that name. A person's gonna have a lot of problems at that time. So like yeah, I mean it's a really cool scene, the introduction to like Mouse, because again Denzel comes to his apartment one time and like brother is about ready to like take him out, what I mean, and they get into a mad physical fight, and the guy's getting the upper hand over Denzel, and out of nowhere Don Cheadle comes with firearm. It's like, take your hands off him before I blow you smooth off, and they find out later that that was the brother to Jennifer Beals, like a half brother. I think Jennifer Beals' white. I don't know if it was white dad or the white mom. Had a relationship with African American. So that was his half brother. So yeah, he escapes, and like I said, this is the time. Like obviously, Mouse and Easy are now working together. The main thing that they need to do is basically just find this woman and like find Daphne and return her back to Todd and let they sort all that situation. If they can get the money, cool. But the most thing is if they can get out of this safely without these kind of crazy murders and people break into their house attached to them. So like once so we end up coming to like why Daphne had run away from Todd, because Todd, like I said, he was like the top politician. He was trying to become mayor. As I mentioned before, Jennifer Beals playing Daphne, she had a half brother, what I mean, who was black, and at that time, to be affiliated with an African American would hurt his chances to become, to be elected. So like when Daphne heard about this, she said, oh, she's got to leave, because she doesn't want to, get messed up. And again, not even messed up. Like I said, just being affiliated, that could just like doom her and the rest of her family, So she bails, what I mean? And, like she doesn't do it. She just leaves. So that's where Todd's thing. But I don't think Todd knows about it until obviously later, what I mean? They end up, I'll go into this later, but they end up like finding like they have their kind of like a conversation like why she had to kind of bail, because even though she had like she has like basically she's tied with like an African American man, Todd still loves her. So like yeah, there's a great climactic scene in the woods where Denzel Denzel playing Easy, Mouse, Don Cheadle, Jennifer Beals playing Daphne, and Tommy Caesar who's playing, I forgot to mention, he's DeWitt. They actually find uh, DeWitt played by Tommy Sizemore. He locates, he finds like Jennifer Beals. They like ambush them in the woods. They have this cabin in the woods, and risking his life and risking what's ever going on. Easy and Mouse, they go there to try save her. And it was crazy. One scene it looked like, it's always terrible seeing them scenes, but it looked like they were gonna RAPE her. It was mad because she was screaming at the top of her lungs, help me, like the damsel in distress. And Mouse and Easy around outside of the cabin. They just start firing shots, blindly, hoping like they'll get them, and they end up getting like DeWitt's goons and that, and they're able to once they take them out. The last one to take out is definitely and he had it coming. Not gonna lie, not that like to see anyone headed, but he had it coming. He was like rotten to the bone. DeWitt, played by Tommy Sizemore. So like he gets it in the end, and like they're able to basically save the save the woman, Jennifer Beals. So like yeah, I mean the penultimate, so like near the final scene, Easy he delivers Daphne back to Todd, the one who's trying to become the mayor, and basically like then Easy's been dropped off of everything. He managed to get out of this safely. Because he was able to do what he is, he able to deliver the girl to Todd. The only issue is that because like I said, the laws were so strict, like an ethnic person was treated below dirt, like, these people complaining about white supremacy now, they have no idea how it was like back in the day, man. So like, like I said, just to have that blood of a black person, linked, it's kind of like, okay, like what you see now with it's the prince, marrying Meghan. At that time you couldn't even dream about that, so if you just like have that picture, that's kind of what happens in this. This is like someone who loves someone, but because of like how the system was then, they obviously couldn't be together. And Todd, he wants to be mayor, but he wants to have a woman. And again, like sometimes it's sometimes such a difficult thing. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. It's like what you really want anyway. Because how I've seen it, how I've been told by other people. Love comes and goes. But there's some people are destined to do what they were meant to do when they're put on this holy place they call Earth. So. I think like it's a real cool because it's a nice like dark silhouette scene, and Denzel's like watching at the foreground, of them two like talking, and you can't hear them, but you can just see like that kind of like, if only things were different, we could be together, but we can't. And he basically has to basically say, I think he ends up giving her money, and Daphne basically goes back in the car with Easy, and Todd goes up to Easy and he says, I do love her, but it is what it is, man. I just I can't afford this to lose my chance of becoming mayor. And Easy's just like, he understands it, he understands the climate, and he just says like, yeah, it sucks, but at least I'm not involved in any of this like all this like washy washy stuff that's going on. I'm finally free. Yeah, man, by the end all is well. Mouse returns back to where he is from. I believe they end up splitting the money. Easy ends up getting his place back, the stuff. Even the police like them police the detectives who like got him in the police station start like say like, oh yo, you murdered this person, and that like all charges have been dropped. And he's at his place, and it's a nice like cool scene of like Hollywood in the 1940s, and you had the like just these black people who still in that segregation time, but they're living in harmony, and it's I love it. He kind of easy Denzel. He kind of rises into the sunset at the end because it's just a nice happy ending of like all the stuff he had to go through in this film, and it's like nothing was legit pinned on him, it was just from like affiliation, he nearly went down, and he got out of it, so it's a victory at the end of the film. So my oh my oh my, Devil in a Blue Dress. So as always, I'm gonna talk about the soundtrack, ladies and gents, man. The soundtrack in this film, I again, because it's that period piece of the 40s, late 30s and 40s. It's a lot of, like I said, that jazz kind of like even what was weird is because I'm a big fan of the Looney Tunes that was around this time, and if you go back to some of them early Merry Melodies shows, a lot of the music that was in that was actually in this, like I said, they were very, very focused on that jazz section, of that type of genre, man, like all those symphonies and that blues and jazz rhythm, which I'm a tremendous fan, a big fan of Louis Armstrong, a lot of the famous jazz musicians from back in the day, and even Sophie is very the music is very similar to the films in Mobile Blues, of course, with Spike Lee and Malcolm X. So definitely the first half of Malcolm X, because Malcolm X, the Malcolm X film in 1992, within the period probably is roughly in the same time, maybe, because this is said to be in 1948. So as I was saying, early 30s, late 30s, early 40s. Completely incorrect. It was actually later, so coming to the early 50s, that's around the time, Malcolm X started to, go in the early days of Malcolm Little, what I mean? So it's around that time. So I feel like what's really cool is the soundtrack, it captures the time. That's one thing that's very effective with the movies that were then. I feel like now, not to criticize, because like I said, cinema has changed in a different scope completely, but I feel like they went like kind of the extra mile to make sure, like sometimes I could close my eyes and I could know that the music from here is definitely from from the that time period, similar to like if I was watching a movie that involved like Egypt, or them times like the Egyptians times, like you kind of already know what the music is gonna kind of sound like, like if you watch great films like The Mummy, I can close my eyes, just listen to the soundtrack, I'm like, okay, this is telling tales of like how it was back in the day in Cairo. That has the same effect with this film. It's like it's a very, very great selective pieces of historical composed music. So yes, man, Devil in a Blue Dress, it's a funny film, because I used to watch this film a lot, like when I was in high school / secondary school. They would always play this on over here. They've got like what is it, I think it was the late movies on channel 5, channel 4 or 5, I'm not sure which one. I think it was channel 5, so I remember one time they had the Halloween marathon, and I wasn't, they showed it from 1 all the way to, at that time it was the 8th one, so I really got into film, like watching the Halloween series, a big fan of like John Carpenter's masterpiece, So I remember when, I started to see like, okay, they used to play movies on normal television, This was one of the films I watched like way back in the day, what I mean? But it's like I would always jump into it like when like let's say 3/4 in the film. So I didn't know what the plot was about. Until now, like we were just watching it a couple of days before, I was like, okay, this is why Denzel playing Easy searching for this woman, what I mean? Because I felt like I missed some parts of dialogue, was too young to understand what was going on, but it's like watching this like as an adult now, it's like I have just way more appreciation for this film. What is very similar to as well, and it's very funny how I watched Chinatown with Jack Nicholson. 10 out of 10 film. I watched it like a week before this film. And in some ways, Chinatown and this, I'm not saying Devil in the Blue Dress is their masterpiece like Chinatown. In some ways, Jack Nicholson, I think it was playing James Dillon or that. The character that Jack Nicholson's playing is kind of similar to this because in that film, it's kind of like he's a detective. You know what I mean? The film follows if the film follows more like where Denzel is kind of looking for clues and kind of like ideas to how to locate this person and obviously get out of his own situation. Similar to how Jack Nicholson in Chinatown, there's scenes where obviously when Roman Polanski like takes his he pulls a knife and takes his nose off. Similar in this, like when Tommy Sizemore had the knife in front of Denzel and he was gonna kind of rip his face open. It was just that cool thing of this detective kind of, even though Denzel's not a detective, he is kind of like acting in this because I think he used his skills from being like a veteran of the war, so he used his skills to kind of manage and maneuver his ways out of this kind of like nonsense. So I just love, I love that kind of like, it's like a kind of nod to like Chinatown, I mean? I feel like it definitely, I mean? Because I never saw Chinatown fully before, similar to this. And, after watching Chinatown, I could get similar thing because Chinatown is roughly in the same, maybe roughly in the same period of time because it's a period piece and it involves like obviously Hollywood and, upper class dealing with the lower ones, what I mean? And it has them kind of like, obviously like the, not disturbing things, but like how Faye Dunaway was, she had the daughter who was her, that was the father. I don't even want to get into that. And obviously like Jennifer Beals dealing with like she had an African American half and half brother, so it's a very kind of a great, like the imagery is very similar to them films and that, which is, I just thought I would mention that. Yeah, and I just feel like as well, why I did mention this Chinatown, this film has very, very good pacing. It's only 1 hour and 37 minutes long, what I mean? But it doesn't need to be 2 hours, it tells everything that's needed with the duration that's there. And I just love how like it really takes its time. Like when Easy is looking for these kind of like he's looking for these kind of like, okay, where could she be now? Where could she be now? It really takes his time, and like I love these scenes like where he would just come to his place and boom, someone's like already broke into this house. Like how the camera kind of falls in because you're in the eye set of kind of like Easy playing Denzel. It's like where. Like how would you like react when someone's just like, you're in like, what? Like if you come in and Brahman's already like making salami sandwich, like, what's going on? But I think it's a really, really slabberdacious, I just made that up now, really, really terrific film. TriStar Pictures made this, when the horse Trump's, Johnson, the earlier production company, it has just so much kind of like that kind of like I said, the Warner Brothers, them early 40s films, with the gangsters, they wearing the, the hats that they wore during the time, like like Batman 89, like they wear like the hats, they had the automobiles at that time. So I really love, if anyone's played the game like LA Noire, it would really like recommend that to them. People love that kind of like the parents and it's not Shay, them ones. They would really, really dig this film, man. If I only had one gripe on this, is I wish the very hot like Lisa Nicole Carson played Correa. I wish she was in this a bit longer. Her screen time is very short, man. Like when Easy does Mia to the bar until when she goes back to the apartment, she's gone. It's not even that like time. So even though she's a supporting character, she's still one of the main like principal characters in this. So, even though you do get flashbacks, it would have been nice if they probably spent more time. Like, but maybe if like Denzel probably met her earlier and then meets her in the club and then meets him. It's like, he just goes from the club, then he goes back to the apartment, then the next morning she's found. What is it? She's taken from us very too soon. You know what I mean? And I don't want Lisa Nicole Costa to be taken from me very too soon. You know what I mean? But like, that's my only like gripe about this. But it's you know what I mean? It's like I've always said, with Denzel, this is a guy who takes it to the serious degree. It's more about the craft of acting, rather than how much money it's going to make in the box office, how much t-shirts or merchandise we can sell, with like attaching, one of the golden stars of Hollywood on this film, and I do say that I know some people in Hollywood, it's the idea of like how big the movie can be, rather than like, a popularity contest, rather than focusing on the craft of making something stand the test of time. And when I speak of that, as I mentioned Chinatown, you could watch films like Chinatown, which was made in the 1970s. You can watch this, was made in the mid-90s. Watch it now, and it holds up well. There are some movies today, not going to say who are just worried about like how much people can we get in the theaters. They're more focused on that, rather than making something that's like, stands the test of time, that will always be a great quality film, and this is another diamond. If I'm the diamond from the series, this is another diamond from the 90s, ladies and gents. And if you're a big fan of Denzel Washington like I am, and I really love my favorite Denzel was definitely the one in the 90s, Malcolm X, He Got Game, Mobile Blues, that one. Ricochet, of course, I mentioned. If you're a fan of Denzel, like it's pretty obviously Philadelphia, as I've got to mention. If you're on the Washington team, just like I'm sure you are on the Rich team. No, okay, forget about Rich team. Yeah, but yeah, if you're a fan of that, you will not be disappointed grabbing this All-Star Classics put into your collection. So, folks, that is my review of Devil in a Blue Dress. Please let me know if any of you have watched this like fabulous film, and let me know what you think of like Denzel, watching during the the 90s thing. Like, what was like your favorite Denzel film? This is all giving me ideas to make now, because honestly, without like going into too much, the movie Denzel means more to me, definitely, is because again, that's probably the first thing I saw Denzel was Malcolm X. I had the original VHS cassette from the 90s, so it's probably the first thing I'd ever seen him with. So that's definitely the most powerful film to me. There are others that are close, but definitely Malcolm X is my favorite Denzel film, but yeah, please, man, let me know what's your favorite Denzel Washington film, man. What you think of like Jennifer Beals. I didn't touch on Jennifer Beals too much because I've not really seen her other work. I don't know what other films she is in. I did my research. I know she appeared in a lot of like TV TV kind of series and that. So I'm not too familiar with her work. She holds up pretty fine in this. For what she's given with. But I don't know her too well to like obviously other actresses that I've spoken in the past and that. But any information that I may have missed, and please drop it in the comments section. And yeah, as always, man, stay tuned, man. I've got more of these kind of like reviews, to do. Just stay tuned, man, because I assure you, Richie Rich will be back yet again. Is it that time? Is it that time? Is it that time? What do I say? Peace? Okay, cool. Peace to fingers.